He used to wake up more tired than when he went to sleep. It's a specific kind of exhaustion, the kind that bone-deep sleep cannot touch. Jason would lie there, paralyzed by the pale morning light hitting the ceiling, wondering how a life that looked so fine on paper could feel so hollow in reality. If you have ever felt drained to the point of numbness, if you've ever felt like a passenger in your own life, trapped in a cycle that demands everything and gives back nothing, this story is for you. For nearly a decade, Jason lived by a hollow creed: busy is better. To him, constant motion was the only evidence of worth. He wore his 60-hour work weeks like a suit of armor. He never missed a deadline. He never said no. He never turned his phone off. In our culture, we don't just tolerate this behavior, we canonize it. Friends and colleagues praised him for it. "I don't know how you do it, Jason," they'd say. "You're always on top of things." On the outside, he was the picture of stability, a decent job, a steady paycheck, the reliable guy on every team. But on the inside, the foundation was crumbling. The erosion was subtle at first. He stopped listening to the music he loved. He stopped seeing his friends because catching up felt like just another task on a to-do list. Weekends were no longer a sanctuary. They were merely a brief, breathless pause before the next storm. Even when he was physically away from his desk, his mind remained tethered to it, replaying conversations, triaging emails in his head, and bracing for the next emergency. He told himself the great lie: it's just a busy season. Once I get past this quarter, I'll slow down. But the finish line was a mirage. Every time he got close, the goalposts moved. As the months bled into years, the exhaustion shifted. It moved from his muscles into his soul. This is the stage of burnout where the world loses its color. Simple emails that used to take minutes now took an hour of staring at a blinking cursor. He started making rookie mistakes, clerical errors, forgotten meetings, things he once took pride in never doing. His patience, once a hallmark of his personality, vanished. He became a person he didn't recognize, irritable, distant, and prone to sharp reactions over minor inconveniences. When loved ones asked if he was okay, he'd deploy the standard defense: "I'm just tired." But the truth was far heavier. He wasn't just tired, he was disappearing. The things that once defined him, his hobbies, his dreams, his sense of humor, felt like they belonged to a stranger. He didn't feel sad in the way people describe depression. He felt nothing. He was living behind a thick wall of glass. He could see the world moving, people laughing, and the sun shining, but he couldn't feel the heat or hear the music. He was a ghost haunting his own life. The moment of clarity arrived on a Tuesday night, late in the office, under the flickering hum of fluorescent lights. Jason stood in front of the bathroom mirror and felt a jolt of genuine fear. He didn't recognize the man looking back. The dark circles under his eyes looked like bruises. His shoulders were permanently hunched, as if bracing for a blow. His face had forgotten the mechanics of a real smile. A terrifying thought took root. If I keep living like this, I'm going to lose myself completely. There won't be anything left to save. He finally named the monster: burnout. Not stress, not a rough patch, but a total systemic failure of his well-being. Yet, even in that moment, a toxic voice whispered from the back of his mind: "Don't be dramatic. Other people have it worse. You should be grateful for this job." For years, that voice had kept him shackled. But this time, a stronger truth rose up to meet it. Gratitude does not require self-destruction. Being thankful for a life doesn't mean you have to set yourself on fire to keep it running. The end came when his body finally staged a coup. One morning, Jason sat at his desk, opened his laptop, and his nervous system simply shut down. His fingers hovered over the keys, but his brain refused to send the signal to type. His chest tightened until it felt like a lead weight. His vision blurred into a gray fog. He wasn't having a heart attack, but he had hit the invisible wall. For the first time in his career, Jason didn't push through. He closed the laptop, walked to the restroom, leaned against the cold tile wall, and wept. It wasn't just about the work. It was the grief of realizing he had spent years trying to prove his worth to a world that would never be satisfied. That day, he sent the hardest email of his life: "I need help. I'm going home." The journey back from the void didn't start with a luxury vacation or a dramatic resignation. It started with permission. Jason had to give himself permission to stop pretending. He sought out a therapist, and for the first time spoke the unspeakable truths. His fear of being seen as weak, his belief that he was only as valuable as his last achievement, and the crushing weight of being the reliable one. Naming these fears didn't fix them instantly, but it cracked the glass wall. He began to understand that recovery wasn't a form of laziness, it was an act of survival. From there, he began the tedious, unglamorous work of setting boundaries. He drew a line in the sand: no emails after 6 p.m., no saying yes to extra projects without a 24-hour cooling-off period to check his capacity, no more performing the role of the superhuman. At first, the guilt was deafening. He felt like a failure, but he countered every pang of guilt with a mantra: I have been letting myself down for years. It is time to stop. He reclaimed his evenings. He stopped using his phone as a pacifier for his stress and started engaging in intentional rest. He took long, aimless walks. He picked up a book for the first time in 3 years. He ate meals without a screen in front of him, actually tasting the food. He treated sleep as a non-negotiable medical requirement. His body didn't heal overnight. Burnout has a long half-life, but slowly, the internal hum of anxiety began to quiet. Jason had to answer a question he had avoided for a decade. Who am I when I'm not producing? Burnout had shrunk his identity down to a job title. To heal, he had to expand. He returned to the hobbies he had abandoned: drawing, music, hiking. These weren't productive uses of time, and that was exactly the point. They were for him. He reconnected with friends, but this time he was honest. He didn't say, I'm fine. He said, I've been struggling and I've missed you. These connections gave his life color again. The numbness began to retreat, replaced by small, flickering sparks of joy: a good cup of coffee, the smell of rain, a genuine laugh. At work, he became a negotiator rather than a yes man. He asked for clarity on priorities. He requested support. He realized that while he couldn't control the corporate culture, he could control his response to it. He realized that balance doesn't mean you never work hard. It means you never sacrifice your soul in the process. Months later, Jason's life is unrecognizable, though he still works the same job. He still has deadlines and stressful Tuesdays. But he is no longer a ghost. He is present. He is alive. When he looks in the mirror now, he sees a man who is flawed, limited, and fiercely protective of his own peace. And that, he realized, is a more profound success than any promotion or paycheck could ever provide. If you're listening to this and you feel like you re-standing on the edge of that same cliff, hear this clearly. Your exhaustion is not a personality trait. It is a warning. Burnout is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you have been strong for too long without a place to set your burden down. You do not have to fix everything today. You don't have to quit your job or move to a desert island. Start with one honest conversation. Name the feeling. Set one small, uncomfortable boundary. Take one step away from the life that is draining you and toward a life that gives you room to breathe. This is Willpower Stories. This channel was built for those who feel stuck, tired, or broken, but still have that quiet, stubborn voice inside saying, I want my life back. We tell stories of discipline, freedom, and the long road home to yourself. If you're ready to move from burned out and numb to balanced and alive, subscribe and join us. Turn on notifications so you never miss a reminder that your energy, your peace, and your very life are worth fighting for.